The second part of the little homily here, not so much about our belief in the Trinity, but being a Trinitarian people. What does that mean? Otherwise, the Trinity today, this solemnity, is very abstract and is something for the philosophers and theologians, but it's not. As I said at the start of the Mass, we invoke our prayer always with the sign of the Trinity, but it's just not in our devotional life, it's also in our everyday life. Here's a good example. So in 2007, I was invited to an enormous international youth gathering in the southern part of India called Kerala, which is known to so many new Australians are coming from this Catholic area of India. The group is called Jesus Youth International, and wonderful group. I've become great friends with their leaders over the years, and they are here in Australia in most of the big capitals, and I'm so proud to be one of their patrons. But there I was in 2007 at a congress of 8,000 youth, all outside in this great big dusty oval in a big school, and at one part we all broke off into small groups. Could you imagine 6,000 people breaking off into small groups? Each group was 200. How's that for a small group? So there we are, I joined one of the groups, and the question asked was, how has God touched you? And immediately this young man, I suppose about 18, got up and he said, can I talk? Yes, yes. And he talked about his cell group. So they were all in little groups of 4 or 5, wherever they were. And they met daily for prayer. And it was a real Acts of the Apostles gathering there of the little cell groups. Their little cell group of 4 or 5 young men and women, they heard in their area, and I've written all this down in my journal because it was so impressionable to me at that time, and still is. They heard in their little village that there was a severely handicapped child abandoned by her parents. And this cell of 4 or 5 young people, the Jesus Youth, volunteered to take care of the child. They said this is where the Holy Spirit was working. In their being, they felt this is not to happen. So the Holy Spirit said, no, there's a moral imperative here. A child can't be abandoned like that. So they said, look, if the parents don't want it, we'll take charge of this child. The medical authorities said no, but they persisted. Eventually, the medical authorities relented, and they were able to take charge and were given this severely handicapped little child. And then some beautiful things happened. First of all, they gave this little severely handicapped baby a name. Elizabeth is the name they gave this child. They clothed her, they fed her, they baptized her. They went to the local parish and had her baptized with her name Elizabeth, and they loved her. God the Father is here. In baptism, she became a new creation. She was created a daughter of God. This is what happens at baptism. We become sons and daughters of God. So they acted as God the Father. Then, 2 days later, tiny Elizabeth died. But there he was, this young man standing up in the group of 200 saying, but we're full of joy. We were really touched by God through her. And they said, and it's very moving when he said it, she died being loved. And when I heard that, I thought, oh, that's so Jesus-centered. There's God the Son. He died being love for us. No greater love than the one who gives his life for others. And then the young man said, and now, he said, now we have Saint Elizabeth watching over us all the days of our life. And we look forward, when God calls us all, to join her in heaven. The Trinity, yes, on one level is very abstract and theological, of course. But on another level, it's the DNA of Christian life. So not only must we believe in God, the Trinity, but let us be the Trinity, especially in our troubled, isolated world, to those in need. May they feel that they are loved by the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit.